The Season 3 and 4 meta for healers is not changing much, but let's talk about what I think is currently best in slot for healers in Season 4. Season 4 brought some pretty interesting new artifacts to the meta, the most notable one being Boltcaster. It is being used by almost every single bow in War and OPR currently. I do not see it staying in War for a long period of time, but in OPR, this thing will probably not go away. The elemental damage is very strong, so let's talk about what we can do to mitigate a lot of the damage in Season 4. First things first, let's talk about what is actually being used in this meta by DPS players. We have a combination of heavy sword and shield, spear or sword and shield greatsword, bow rapier. We also have the fire staff abyss and fire staff blunderbuss. As you can tell from all four of these builds, they have two things in common, and that is high burst damage and high constant pressure. The heavy sword and shield players are not getting punished, and the heavy flamethrower blunderbuss players are constantly applying plague with the flamethrower and pestilence combo, and then of course the bows are shooting you from the back, so you have a lot of different sources of damage hitting you. So let's talk about what we can do to mitigate that. So starting off with the gear, enchanted ward and slash conditioning are going to be the best two perks, and slash conditioning is actually better than health if you are constantly getting dogged down by the slash damage, which in most cases you are in most of your deaths in OPR or war specifically. Before we talk about the enchanted ward slash conditioning combos, we need to go over the best perks to take, and that is going to be fortifying sacred ground on your armor, refreshing divine embrace on your life staff, and if you are a splash of light healer, you want to be having purity of light on your armor as well. Now, since a lot of fire staff players are opting to take Alacritus punishment on the fire staff, the haste from accelerating light's embrace for the light's embrace healers is not that valuable. You can actually get a teammate killed because they are taking 20% more base damage with a haste effect on them. So instead of accelerating light's embrace, just opt to take another defensive perk. So moving back to the gear, enchanted ward slash conditioning and fortifying sacred ground is going to be our best in slot piece of armor. On the rest of the off pieces, make sure you are taking health, enchanted ward, and slash conditioning, and for the featherweight, make sure you put slash conditioning on this as well. We want to be at 5% slash conditioning on 5 of our pieces of armor, which is going to total at 25% slash damage mitigation. And once again, this is slash damage absorption, so it is effectively 5 moonstones on your gear without actually having moonstones in there. Now, this is one of my alt characters, so I do not have the life wool channeler, but most of you already have it if you watched my video. So bless, refreshing move, and refreshing divine embrace. And for the rapier, once again, this is not something you want to get. It is an alt character. Keen speed is going to be your best 2 perk to get. For the amulet, ring, and earring, we are going to be using the website to finish these off so you can farm your biz now. Now we are on the neural-buddy.de website. As per usual, the attributes are going to be in the top left. 250 constitution with the rest focus is going to be the best and slot healer attribute for this meta. The only way to get 250 constitution with the rest focus is to run 3 or less magnify. That is why there is a bunch of crafted pieces in today's build. For the perks in the middle of the screen, we are going to be running 2 health, 3 refreshing, 4 enchanted ward, 5 slash conditioning. The reasoning behind 3 refreshing is quite simple. We want to be at that 100% CDR mark with desperate speed activated. So desperate speed is the lifestaff tree perk that reduces all lifestaff ability cooldowns by 10%, and it can only be triggered every 5 seconds. Without desperate speed activated, that would simply put us at 90% CDR, but that is completely fine. You are not going to notice a 4% CDR difference from 90 to 94%. I want to show you all in game what the actual refreshing values are. So we are currently running 4 refreshing. We can see that here 4 out of 4. Each piece has 4%, and at 4 out of 4 refreshing, our sacred ground is going to be 15.8 seconds. Our divine embrace is going to be 4.7, and our splash of light is going to be 11.9. Compared to 3 refreshing, once again 3 out of 4 stacks. Sacred ground is going to be 16.6 second cooldown. Divine embrace is going to be a 5 second cooldown, and splash of light is a 12.5 second cooldown. Sacred ground roughly has a 0.8 second cooldown increase. Splash of light has about a 0.6 second cooldown increase, and divine embrace has a 0.3 second cooldown increase. For this next test, we are going to check and see if revitalize coupled with refreshing move on the life staff is going to be better, worse, or the same at 3 and 4 refreshing. So for this first test, we are going to be rocking 3 out of 4 refreshing. Now let's toss our sacred down and count how many auto attacks it takes before we get it back. So it's about 6 to 7 auto attacks. Now let's put on 1 more refreshing and see if the value changes at all. Here it is, 4 out of 4 refreshing. So once again, it is about 6 to 7 auto attacks. The 4th refreshing is pretty much negligible in all cases for a healer. Run 3 refreshing and get yourself another defensive perk. For the last test, we are going to see the difference between 3 and 4 refreshing when healing a target below half HP. Once again, this is with refreshing Divine Embrace on the life staff. And to keep this test simple, we are not going to be taking desperate speed, so it does not mess up the test. Now on the screen now, you should see the side-by-side comparison with 3 and 4 refreshing. 3 refreshing is going to be on the left side and 4 refreshing is going to be on the right side. So there is the information that you need to prove that 3 refreshing is currently just as good as 4 refreshing. Now, if you really want to min-max your cooldown, you can completely ignore what I'm saying and run 4 refreshing. Now, for the actual final test of this segment, we will test 4 out of 4 refreshing and 3 out of 4 refreshing with beacon. We currently have 4 out of 4 refreshing, so let's toss our beacon down and start auto attacking. It took exactly 8 light attacks to get our beacon back with 4 out of 4 refreshing. Now, taking off 1 refreshing, let's test what our beacon is now. It is also 8 light attacks with beacon at 3 refreshing. So once again, 4 out of 4 refreshing is useless. Moving on to the gear, this is going to be the best in slot gear to take for season 4. We want a enchanted ward / conditioning fortifying sacred ground piece / conditioning on the featherweight, enchanted ward / conditioning and purity of light if you play splash of light. Otherwise, wear health. And for the off pieces, health / conditioning enchanted ward, and that's going to be for the legs in this build and the light feet as well. We are using the Tanglevine amulet for the thrust protection and stamina recovery, a hardy sacred refreshing ring, and refreshing toast, refreshing, and fortifying toast. So fortifying toast actually got buffed in season 4. It is now 20% fortified for 8 seconds with a 10-second cooldown compared to the 3-second cooldown it had in season 3. This is effectively a 3 times increase in the duration, which if you are taking a lot of damage over the course of 8 seconds, this will actually outweigh the benefit of healthy toast on the earring. And after all of these massive healthy toast nerfs, from it going from max health to base health, fortifying toast is looking like a solid contender to the healthy toast perk. So that's about it for the armor and weapons and everything you need to know for season 4. The last thing we need to talk about is the gems. With the Boltcaster, the Fire Staff, the Abyss, all of these magic damage weapons are hurting super bad as well. That is why we have Enchanted Ward. Enchanted Ward is going to stop the Boltcaster damage, the Fire Staff auto attacks, the Abyss auto attacks, etc. But you can see here in our armor, we are opting to take up to 6 opals. We have 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and we have 2 onyxes to finish it off. Adding the slash conditioning from our armor, we are going to be at 30% slash damage absorption, and that is also going to put us at 20% thrust damage protection, 15 from the amulet, and once again 5% from the onyxes. The 6 opals is going to grant us 15% flat magic damage resistance across the board. So all of the fire staff, ice damage, pretty much anything in the game, including Boltcaster, is going to be completely negated. This is so far what I found in season 4 to work for me, and what I am aiming for to get for best in slot on all of my characters. And lastly, for the life staff builds, nothing is ever going to change most likely. So here is your best in slot splash builds, here is your best in slot beacon builds, and here is your best in slot lights embrace builds. A lot of you might be wondering why we are not using the elemental aversion, enchanted ward, and health gear that drops from the new dungeon, the glacial tarn. Simply put, elemental aversion is known as base damage and slash conditioning is known as absorption. Base damage and absorption work completely different from each other in this game. Slash conditioning is also known as old fortify, which is essentially the highest damage mitigation fortify in this game. All of the gems in this game, such as opal, onyx, including any of the conditioning perks, as well as the infused lightning absorption potions and the infused fire absorption potions, these are the best form of damage mitigation in this game. We want to avoid having any base damage reduction perks on our armor, with the exception to enchanted ward. Enchanted ward is the best base damage reduction perk in the game. It works on all light and heavy attacks, and elemental aversion only works on ranged elemental attacks. You will have most of your bases covered with enchanted ward, so completely ignore these new dungeon pieces. They are not that good. If you are still confused about base damage reduction, fortify, absorption, etc., please check the comments and the description below to join Mikro's Discord. If you do not know who Mikro is, he is one of the top tier war players and has some of the best war info and PvP info in the game. Once again, twitch.tv/badmoonbanana99. Link is also down in the description below. Don't forget to like, follow, and sub if today's video was helpful. And as always, once again, I will see you in the next one. Peace, baby.